Hello and welcome to Fluent Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Fluent, and this is the show where we help you improve your English through real conversations. Today we have a wonderful guest with us, Emily, and we're going to practice one of the most important skills in English, introducing yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on the show, Mr. Fluent. I'm really excited to be here.
We're so happy to have you, Emily. Now, introducing yourself is something we do almost every day, right? When we meet new people, start new jobs, join clubs, it's everywhere. So let's jump right in. Emily, could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Well, my name is Emily, and I'm from Portland, Oregon. It's a beautiful city in the northwestern part of the United States.
Oh, Portland. I've heard wonderful things about that city.
Yes, it really is. We have amazing coffee shops, lots of parks, and the food scene is incredible. I love living there because it's not too big, but there's always something interesting to do.
That sounds perfect. And what do you do for work, Emily?
I'm a graphic designer. I work for a small marketing company downtown. We create advertisements, websites, and logos for local businesses.
Wow, that sounds creative.
It really is, and working with those international clients has been especially rewarding. I love being able to use my artistic skills every day. Plus, I get to work with different people from all over the world, so every project is unique. Some days I'm designing a menu for a restaurant. Other days I might be creating a poster for a local event or helping someone from another country establish their business presence in Portland.
That's fascinating. I'd love to hear more about that. How did you get into graphic design? Was it something you always knew you wanted to do?
Well, actually, it's kind of a funny story. I originally went to college to study business, but in my second year, I had to take an art elective. I chose a basic design class just because it fit my schedule, and I fell in love with it. The professor was amazing, and I realized I had this natural eye for color and composition that I never knew I had.
That variety must keep things interesting. Now, let's talk about your daily routine. What does a typical day look like for you?
Well, I usually wake up around 7 in the morning. I'm not really a morning person, so I need my coffee first thing.
Wow, that must have been quite a revelation. So did you end up changing your major?
I did. It was scary because I was already halfway through college, but my family was really supportive. I switched to a double major, graphic design and business. I thought the business background would help me understand clients better, and it really has. I can speak their language when we talk about marketing goals and budgets.
I totally understand that.
After coffee, I usually do some light stretching or yoga. It helps me wake up and feel ready for the day. Then I get dressed and walk to work. The office is only about 15 minutes from my apartment, so I don't need a car.
That's brilliant. Having both creative and business skills must make you really valuable. Can you tell us about a recent project you worked on that you're particularly proud of?
Oh, yes. Just last month, I worked on a complete branding package for a new coffee shop in Portland. The owner wanted something that felt modern but also cozy and welcoming. I designed everything: the logo, the menu, the signage, even the packaging for their coffee beans. The best part was seeing people taking photos with their coffee cups because they loved the design so much.
That's nice. Walking to work must be refreshing.
It is. I get to see my neighborhood, and sometimes I stop at the farmer's market on my way home. I work from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
That must be such a rewarding feeling. When people love your work enough to share it on social media, that's really something special. Now, I imagine working with different clients can be challenging sometimes. What's the hardest part of your job?
That's a great question. I think the most challenging part is when clients can't clearly explain what they want. They'll say things like, "make it pop," or "I'll know it when I see it." As a designer, I need specific information about their target audience, their brand personality, their goals. So I've learned to ask lots of questions up front to really understand what they're looking for.
Sounds like a nice schedule. And what about after work? What do you like to do in your free time?
Oh, I have quite a few hobbies. I love reading, especially mystery novels. There's something exciting about trying to solve the puzzle before the main character does.
Ooh, mystery novels. That does sound fun. That's excellent communication skills. And that's actually a great lesson for our English learners. Being able to ask the right questions and get specific information is so important in any language. Speaking of communication, how has your English helped you in your career? Portland is a diverse city. Do you work with international clients?
You're absolutely right. We actually do work with several international clients. Just this year, I've worked with a Japanese restaurant owner who was new to Portland and a French artist who wanted to promote her gallery. In both cases, clear communication was essential. I had to learn to speak more slowly, use simpler vocabulary when needed, and always confirm that we understood each other correctly.
Mystery novels are fantastic. Do you have a favorite author or series? And does reading help with your English at all, since you work with international clients?
Oh, absolutely. I love Agatha Christie. Her Hercule Poirot novels are classics. I've read almost all of them. I also really enjoy Louise Penny's Inspector Gamache series, and I just started reading Tana French's Dublin Murder Squad books. And you're right about English. Reading has definitely improved my vocabulary. I learn new words and expressions all the time, especially British and Irish phrases from these authors.
That's such valuable experience. And what you just described, speaking slowly, using clear vocabulary, and checking for understanding, those are exactly the skills our listeners need when they're introducing themselves and communicating in English. It sounds like your work has taught you to be a very patient and clear communicator.
That's such a good question for language learners. When I come across words I don't know, I usually try to understand them from context first. If I still can't figure it out, I'll look it up. But I don't stop reading every time. I keep a little notebook next to me and write down interesting words or phrases. Sometimes I'll discover that a word I thought I knew has a completely different meaning in a different context.
That's wonderful. Reading is such an underrated way to improve language skills. Our listeners should definitely consider reading in English. Any other hobbies?
Well, I'm learning to play the guitar. I'm still a beginner, but I practice for about 30 minutes every evening. My neighbors probably think I'm terrible.
Oh, I'm sure you're better than you think. How long have you been learning?
About 6 months now. I can play a few simple songs, but I really want to get better. My goal is to be able to play my favorite song by next year.
Learning guitar as an adult must be quite a challenge. What inspired you to start? And how are you learning? Are you taking lessons or teaching yourself?
Well, it started because of a song, actually. My favorite song is Blackbird by the Beatles, and I heard someone playing it on guitar at a coffee shop one day. It sounded so beautiful, and I thought, I want to be able to do that too. So I bought a used guitar online and started with YouTube tutorials. I take a lesson once a month with a local teacher just to make sure I'm not developing bad habits.
Blackbird is such a beautiful song. That's a wonderful goal to work towards. Learning an instrument and learning a language have a lot in common. They both require daily practice, patience with yourself, and celebrating small victories. How do you stay motivated when it gets difficult?
That's such a great comparison. You're absolutely right. When I get frustrated with guitar, I remind myself of where I was 6 months ago. I couldn't even hold the guitar properly. Now I can play 3 chords and actually switch between them smoothly. I record myself playing once a week, and it's amazing to hear the progress. I think language learners could do the same thing, record themselves speaking and compare it to recordings from months before.
That would be incredible, especially with your background in design.
Exactly. I think seeing different styles of art and design would really inspire my work. I'm also thinking about taking some photography classes. I love taking pictures during my hikes, but I want to learn more about the technical side of it.
That's a great goal. Speaking of goals, do you have any other plans or dreams for the future?
Both, actually. Sometimes I love the peace and quiet of hiking alone. It's very meditative. But I also have a regular hiking group that includes my coworker, Sarah, who I mentioned earlier. We've explored so many trails together. There's something special about sharing those beautiful views with friends and having someone to chat with during the longer hikes.
Mount Hood views. That must be incredible. Do you ever hike with other people or do you prefer going alone? Portland sounds like a perfect place for hiking. Can you tell us about some of your favorite trails? I bet our listeners who visit Portland would love some recommendations.
Oh, I'd love to share some recommendations. One of my absolute favorites is the Multnomah Falls Trail. It's about 30 minutes from downtown Portland, and the waterfall is just breathtaking. There's an easy walk to the bottom of the falls and a more challenging hike to the top. I also loved Powell Butte, which has miles of trails and amazing views of Mount Hood on clear days. I'd love to travel more. I've never been to Europe, and I really want to visit Italy and France someday. I think it would be amazing to see all the art and architecture there.
Italy and France sound wonderful. Have you done any research into specific places you'd like to visit? And with your design background, I imagine you're particularly interested in the art and architecture.
Oh, yes, I've been doing so much research. In Italy, I'm dying to see Florence and Rome, the Renaissance art in Florence, especially the Uffizi Gallery. And in Rome, I want to see the Sistine Chapel and the Colosseum. In France, I'd love to visit Paris, of course, but also some smaller towns in Provence. I've been following several travel Instagram accounts that focus on art and design, and I have a whole Pinterest board full of places I want to photograph.
That makes perfect sense. Photography and graphic design go together really well. Now, Emily, what about food? Do you like to cook, or do you have any favorite types of food?
Oh, I love cooking. I usually cook dinner at home most nights. I really enjoy trying new recipes, especially Asian dishes. Thai food is probably my favorite.
Thai food is delicious.
Right? Last week, I made green curry with vegetables and rice. It took me almost 2 hours, but it was so worth it. I also love Italian food. I make pasta at least once a week.
You sound like a great cook. Now, let's talk a little bit about why introducing yourself is so important. Emily, can you think of a time when you had to introduce yourself and it made a big difference?
Actually, I've already started. I'm using a language learning app to learn basic Italian phrases. I can already say, Ciao, mi chiamo Emily, and sono americana. It's funny because learning Italian has made me more aware of how challenging it must be for people learning English. Italian pronunciation seems so much more straightforward than English.
That sounds like an amazing adventure. Are you planning to learn any Italian or French before you go? That could be a great opportunity to practice introducing yourself in a different language.
That's a great question. Actually, yes. When I started my current job, I was really nervous about meeting everyone, but I practiced introducing myself beforehand.
That was smart. What a wonderful outcome. That's exactly what I'm talking about. When we introduce ourselves well, we can make connections with people.
Exactly. And it's not just about work. I joined a book club last month, and introducing myself helped me find other people who love mystery novels like I do.
Perfect. So for our listeners who are learning English, what advice would you give them about introducing themselves?
I think the most important thing is to be yourself and share what you're passionate about. Don't worry about being perfect. People want to connect with the real you, not a perfect version of you.
That's beautiful advice. And practice helps too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I still practice sometimes when I know I'm going to meet new people. It helps me feel more confident.
Emily, this has been such a wonderful conversation. Before we finish, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
Just that learning English is a journey, and every conversation is practice. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every time you introduce yourself, you're getting better at communicating and connecting with people.
You make such a good point about pronunciation. And speaking of introducing yourself, Emily, you've given us such wonderful examples throughout our conversation. I think this would be a perfect time to give our listeners some practical tips. Let me share what I call the 5 essential elements of a good self-introduction in English. First, always start with your name clearly. Don't rush it. Say, "Hi, I'm," or "My name is," and then pause slightly before saying your name. Second, mention where you're from, your country, city, or region. Third, share what you do, your job, your studies, or what keeps you busy. Fourth, include 1 or 2 personal interests or hobbies. And fifth, end with something that invites conversation. Maybe ask a question about the other person or mention something you'd like to learn about them.
Those are fantastic guidelines. I can see how I naturally followed most of those in our conversation today. Should I try doing a formal introduction using all 5 elements for our listeners?
That would be perfect. Let's pretend we're meeting for the first time at a networking event or a party. Go ahead and introduce yourself using those 5 elements.
Hi there. I'm Emily, and I'm from Portland, Oregon. I work as a graphic designer for a marketing company downtown. In my free time, I love reading mystery novels and hiking in the beautiful trails around Portland. I'm also learning to play guitar, which is challenging but fun. I'd love to hear about what brings you here tonight. Are you from this area?
Excellent. Did you hear that, listeners? Emily used all 5 elements perfectly. She said her name clearly, mentioned Portland, explained her job, shared her hobbies, and ended with a question that would keep the conversation going. That's exactly how you create connections with people.
Oh, yes. I've noticed a few things. Sometimes people speak too fast because they're nervous, and then I can't understand their name or where they're from. Other times, they give too much information at once, like their whole life story in 2 minutes. And sometimes they seem embarrassed about their English and apologize before they even start talking, which makes the whole interaction feel awkward.
Those are such important observations. So listeners, remember, speak slowly and clearly, especially your name. Keep your introduction brief. Save the detailed stories for later in the conversation. And please don't apologize for your English. You're communicating in a second or third language, which is amazing. Be proud of that accomplishment.
That's such a good point. Eye contact is huge. Not staring, but looking at the person when you're talking to them. A genuine smile makes such a difference too. And standing up straight, having open posture with your arms uncrossed. I've noticed that when people are nervous, they sometimes look at their feet or cross their arms, and it can seem like they don't want to talk, even if they do.
Perfect words to end on. Thank you so much, Emily, for sharing your story with us today. You've given our listeners a perfect example of how to introduce yourself in a natural, friendly way.
Thank you for having me. This was really fun.
And to our wonderful listeners, thank you for joining us today on Fluent Talk Podcast. Remember, introducing yourself is one of the most important skills in English. And now you have Emily's example to follow. Practice talking about where you're from, what you do, and what you love. Be yourself, be confident, and don't forget to smile. We'll see you next time for another conversation to help you become more fluent. Until then, keep practicing and keep talking.